Hey there everyone, Violeta here with the second ever Vlog. Now, as I said last time, this series is pretty much just me talking, whatever my thoughts are about certain subjects. This time I've decided to have one overarching subject with, sort of kind of three sub categories in it. So today I want to talk about the anime I've been watching, and what I think about them. The first is sports anime. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't think I liked sports anime. In fact, last year, if you'd asked me, I'd have said, nah, not really my thing. Don't really like it. Until my best friend convinced me to watch Haikyuu, which, for those of you who don't know, is a very popular volleyball anime that is based on the manga of the same name. And I realized after watching a few episodes of that, oh dear, maybe I do actually like sports anime. What to do about this? Honestly, that particular anime I think it's a lot of fun. I'll be honest. I didn't actually know pretty much anything about volleyball, except for what little I remember from my school years a long time ago. I'm an old, crotchety woman. But I didn't really know the rules, and I was always terrible at it, so I wasn't really all that excited to start a volleyball anime. Apparently, I kind of like volleyball now, or at least the anime version of volleyball. The characters are great. I actually do enjoy the animation, though, as far as I understand it, Haikyuu has 3 seasons so far. It has not, in fact, totally caught up to the manga, and the manga is still ongoing, which means that hopefully at some point in the future there will be a season 4. But for now I've seen the first, second, and I believe third seasons of it. I do think the animation changed a little bit between seasons 1 and 2. It's not a big shift by any means. I just think it's a little bit different, and I do think I preferred season 1's style a little bit better, but not enough not to watch it. And to be honest, we binged it. We totally binged watched almost the entirety of the show, and I don't regret it. I don't regret a moment of it. And I started thinking about it, and I had a supposition about partway through that at least this anime was closer to a fighting anime in disguise. Not totally, but it did have some of that tense moments of it that I got from, way back when I was first watching anime. And some of the first things I watched was Dragon Ball Z and Yu Yu Hakusho and Inuyasha. I was very tense sometimes during Haikyuu, during particularly hard matches and games. And I hadn't gotten that into a show like that in a long time. Like, I was literally nervous for them. And it wasn't until talking to Kinsmark about it that I realized that part of the reason is that, unlike most fighting animes, for example, where sometimes it's literally life and death, so chances are the characters that you're rooting for are probably not going to die unless it's like DBZ where people come back from the dead. Chances are, even if they lose, it's not going to be that bad. Because if they die, then that's kind of it for that character. But in a sports anime, the teams can lose. because it isn't life or death. They can lose, and it can essentially crush their hopes and dreams if they do. And apparently that gets to me a little bit more than the life and death struggles, because you know, at the end of the day, most of those characters are going to survive. But in a sports anime, you don't necessarily know that they're always going to win. And sometimes that's almost worse. So I kept finding myself getting tense and excited and worried, and I couldn't stop watching it. I could not stop. And by the time we got all the way through to season 3, which is actually I think it's about 10 or so episodes, that's literally a single match. Granted, it's a 5-set match where every other match that we've seen before is only 3, but they literally stretched a single match over 10 episodes. And that's an entire season. And honestly, I did feel that might have been stretching it a little too far, but at the same time, I enjoyed it because it kind of allowed you to see, flashbacks to different things that happened. You kind of see the motivations of all the characters, which I also found very intriguing. And this was the first anime where I started getting annoyed almost, because I want to root for, the main characters, their team. I want to root for them. I want them to win. Haikyuu actually made me start feeling bad for some of the other teams they were playing, and started getting to the point where I'm like, I know I want the main character to win, right? It was like, because of course they're the people you're focused on, but at the same time, I feel bad for the other teams losing. That had never really happened to me before. I never felt necessarily distinctly sad for the losers. I did in Haikyuu. There were some times where I actually was just like, I almost want to root for the other team, except I don't. And that had never happened to me before. I found that very interesting and almost frustrating in that, I like the uncomplicated cheering for specific people, but overall I thought that was really good. And I think that if you are even the slightest bit interested, or think you might be interested, give it a try. You gotta give it a try. I thought it would be not so good. I didn't think I was gonna like it, because I'm not really a sporty person, so I didn't expect to get anything out of it. But I fell in love with the characters. I liked the story. I got into it far more than I ever expected to. So I would definitely recommend Haikyuu to anyone who's even remotely interested. You can find it on Crunchyroll. All you have to do is search for it. They do have seasons 1, 2, and the third shorter season. I actually think they have some of the compilation highlight movie-like things also. I might be wrong about that, but I know for a fact that they have the full series part of it. And speaking of sports anime, finishing Haikyuu, my best friend and I, apparently we did some separate research and came to the same conclusion of that we needed to watch, the English title is Kirokos Basketball. I'm not going to say the Japanese title because I'll probably butcher it. But it's essentially, it's a sports anime, also based on sports manga, which I believe is finished, called, as I said, Kirokos Basketball, and of course is clearly about basketball. Also a game of which I don't know pretty much anything. Don't know much about it at all. And yet, apparently I like basketball now too. Who knew? And it was this particular anime that solidified my decision of that, yes, sports anime are just fighting anime pretending not to be. Like, and there's even, like, secret techniques and stuff like that in this. I like the characters, I like the premise, it's actually really cool. Really my only complaint with Kirokos Basketball is that for the entirety of the first season, they keep putting this clip, which is essentially a bit of background information for, essentially the setting. We don't really need that after, like, the first 3 episodes. We kind of already know. It's almost impossible not to know. So I kind of wish they hadn't done that, and we took to just skipping that, so I guess that's not really that big a thing. I enjoyed the animation of it. Honestly, I really enjoyed the soundtrack. Like, I was kind of surprised by how much I liked the soundtrack of that particular anime. And it really does feel to me kind of like, well, not kind of like, it feels to me like a fighting anime, just using sports instead of combat. So it has that same tension, the same stuff, and just like Haikyuu, it made me like the antagonists. Though, I guess, to be fair, they're not entirely antagonists. I mean, they sort of are, like, they're the opponents, but it made me like them too. And I'm starting to think that might just be a sports anime thing. I don't know for sure, since I've only watched 2 so far. But it apparently, that's now a thing for me, that I apparently like sports anime, or at least these 2. And I do recommend both of them to anyone who might even be somewhat interested. I find it interesting and enjoyable. I think Kirokos Basketball, the main series is over, but I think either recently or soon there's going to be like a movie that's, while it's its own thing, it's also based on like a short manga series set after the primary manga series ended, called, I think what they're calling the movie was like Last Game or something like that. I have not seen that. I think it's coming out either soon or just did. I'm pretty excited about it, actually, but I haven't seen it yet, so no spoilers, please. But I was surprised, really surprised at how much I actually really enjoyed both Haikyuu and Kirokos Basketball. Honestly, I think it's the characters that really make it. And I guess that can be said for most anime that I personally prefer, is the characters either make it or break it for me. But so far, I'm surprisingly finding myself actually enjoying sports anime. So if you guys have any suggestions on other sports anime you think that are maybe along those same sorts of lines as Haikyuu or Kirokos Basketball, please leave some suggestions in the comments. I would love to watch more. I've apparently been on an anime kick recently, so just let me know. Moving on from sports anime, we're going to move to, I guess, like fighting anime, sort of, not really. I'm not sure how to put it, but I've recently gotten into Fairy Tail, which I'm not even close to being finished with. I'm on like episode like 30, maybe 31, not sure, but I'd heard really good things about it, and I'll be honest, after the first episode I was actually kind of hesitant. I was just like, yeah, okay, maybe. it didn't really hook me as immediately as, say, the other two anime that I've talked about here did. But I decided to give it a try anyway, because why not? I'd heard good things, so clearly there's something here. And I can't quite decide if it was a mistake to keep watching it, because I did get hooked later on. And I know there's like 200 and some odd episodes. Like there's a lot, and I've barely scratched the surface. And I'm not entirely sure how I'm ever going to get all the way through it, but so far I'm definitely enjoying it. I think that once again, it's the characters that kind of do it for me. Though I have to admit, I do like the setting of it. I think the setting is interesting, and I like seeing, you know, how everything works in it. So far, I do still have some questions about how the setting works, but overall, I think that it explains itself enough so that you're not confused necessarily about how things are working or what exactly, you know, like the things that you need to know to keep up with what's happening. I think they give you enough information. I'm pretty excited. I'm actually really excited to see more of it. I like the Dragon Slayers best, probably obvious, though I do like Gray, the Ice Mage. I think he's really cool. But then I've always kind of had a soft spot for ice magic, which for some reason I just think it's a cool concept. Probably has to do with the fact that I also like waterbenders from the Avatar series. I don't know. But I'm really looking forward to watching more of it. I'm actually going to try and get Kinsmark to watch it with me. That's probably not gonna go too well. Probably not, but you know, whatever. I'm gonna try. If he says yes, then he says yes. If not, oh well. Speaking of watching anime with Kinsmark, we've recently started watching on Netflix Blue Exorcist, or I think the Japanese is Ao no Exorcist. I could be wrong, and I probably butchered that, but that one I also find pretty interesting. We're not finished with it. We haven't watched everything there is yet, and I don't even know if that particular anime is even finished yet. Honestly, thinking about it, I don't even know if Fairy Tail is finished yet. But so far, I think we're both enjoying it. I have to admit with that one, given the little blurb that you're given on the menu of Netflix, I expected there to be a little bit more comedy to Blue Exorcist than we've necessarily gotten. There's a lot more drama than comedy, I think. Like, a lot more. I mean, there are some funny moments, and I do enjoy those when they come up, but I had expected a little bit more to that than necessarily what I got. The main premise is that there's a teenage boy and his twin who apparently they're apparently the sons of Satan, apparently, or at least one of them, and the older twin has demon powers. Awesome. And all the various issues that come along with things like that. That's the primary premise, which you learn about in the very first episode. The blurb, I think, was like the very beginning of it. It's like he's got daddy issues and stuff like that. So I'm like, I think this is probably, like, clearly there's a bit of drama to it, but I expected a bit more comedy, just the way they'd written the little synopsis. Not as much. It's actually a bit more serious than I thought, and they are actually paying a fair amount of attention to various mythologies and religions from around the world, which I thought was really interesting, the way they're sort of melding it all together. Once again, the setting is what does it for me. The setting and the characters. I keep wondering what exactly is going on. What's the deal with some of those characters? What are their actual plans? What are they angling for? Because they're angling for something. I just don't know what yet. And the battle scenes are interesting. There's not actually as many as I necessarily might have expected. I mean, there's a lot of fighting that happens in it, but it's not so much so that you don't have the interpersonal drama, because you have a lot of that too. But in general, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it a lot, and I think Kinsmark is too, so I'm going to try to convince him to watch more of it later, actually. Shh, don't tell him. Or actually, that it doesn't matter. You can tell him. I'm sure he knows, but whatever. And then, finally, I was going to talk about, essentially, I guess you would call them romances, maybe? There's a specific anime that I had watched on my own, called, I think it's My Little Monster, or something like that. Something along those lines. I'll put a link to it in the description. And it can also be found on Crunchyroll, just like Haikyuu and also Kirokos Basketball. And I wasn't sure going into it. I just wanted to watch something that had good ratings and that looked fun. I actually really liked it. It's essentially about a high school girl who is roped by her teacher into bringing, I think it's either notes or books to a delinquent classmate of hers, who it turns out is rather misunderstood, and they end up becoming friends, and then the romantic connection is clearly there, and it's a rom-com, but I'd almost say there's more comedy even than there is romance. It's honestly a lot of fun. I actually did find myself laughing while watching it. There's only the one season of it, and there isn't a whole lot of closure, I guess you could say, for the relationships in that one season. And from what I understand, it is based on a manga that has gone much further than the anime did. But given some of the word choice in the final episode, it seems like the studio that made the anime might have wanted to continue it and to go into a second season, but that they weren't sure it would happen. But considering it came out, I think, in 2012 or 14, I'm kind of thinking season 2's probably not gonna happen, which honestly I consider to be a shame, because I really did enjoy the characters, even though they were pretty over the top sometimes, but they were still a lot of fun. There was a lot of humorous stuff, there was a lot of jokes, but it all sort of felt like one whole. It all sort of came together and created this enjoyable show that I was actually very sad to see it end, and I had wished it kept going. But I do recommend it for anybody who likes romantic comedies, that sort of genre, because I really did enjoy it a lot more than I even expected to. Lots of humor, and actually I realized partway in that some of the, I don't know if it's all of them, but some of the ending portions where they would put, the next time, the hint of what's coming out in the next episode, they're about the next episode, but they also show it in a little bit of a different light, which I thought was kind of funny. There were certain times when they would put it in like a completely different sort of situation. Like there was not really a fight, sort of a fight, between the two main characters, and it was essentially the next time segment was putting it as though they were from an older period, and it was like two different clans dueling it out over various things, like complete with swords, traditional clothing. It was actually really funny, and I was kind of sad that didn't actually come up in the next episode, because I would have enjoyed watching it that way. But so even some of the next time on the show segments were actually fun and interesting to watch, which is very unusual. It took me a long time to figure out that they were even potentially like that, because I usually just skip. Once we've gotten to the end credits, I usually just skip. But this one, they might actually be worth staying for. And speaking of end credits, going back a little bit, if you do decide to watch Blue Exorcist also, there are many times on a lot of episodes, there's a small scene at the end of the credits that it's not a next time thing. It's an actual additional scene that in some cases is really important, because it doesn't ever show up in the coming episodes, but it has information about some of what happens in those episodes. So if you do watch Blue Exorcist, I would recommend making sure that you see whatever's at the end. At least on Netflix. I don't know about any other site where you might be able to watch it, but on Netflix, the episodes that do have an additional scene, the show, if you have it on autoplay, it won't automatically go to the next episode as it usually does once a few seconds of the closing song have started. It won't go to the next episode if there is something at the end. It will just keep playing. So you can probably, if you watch it on Netflix, you can probably use that as a gauge of which episodes there is a thing for. If you don't have it on Netflix, you might just have to double check, either fast forward to the end of the credits, watch the credits, whatever. But there are several scenes of importance. There are some scenes that are just humorous, they're just funny, but there are some that are important at the end. So that's pretty much all the anime I've really been watching lately. I will probably return to this specific overall topic again in the future, because, as I said, I'm apparently on an anime binge kick right now. Don't know why, just sort of am. But if you guys have any suggestions of anime to watch, please feel free to put them in the comments. If you have just suggestions in general of things you'd like me to talk about on the vlogs, also put those in the comments. I will be checking them. I do ask that you don't put any spoilers to the shows that I have not yet finished in the comments, because I want to know what happens, but I want to actually watch it happen, if that makes sense. But I do look forward to hearing from you guys, what you guys might think, any shows that you guys might like that you think either myself or Kinsmark might also enjoy, or anything similar. Like, just let us know. I look forward to hearing from you guys. That's all I have for today, so if you guys have liked it, please feel free to subscribe, maybe even donate to our Patreon. Every little bit counts. I'm Violeta, here at Last Level Press, and as always, go out and game, you guys. Bye!